Welcome back, everyone. I'm Sathy, and today, our guest is a lead product manager at Southeast Asia's one of the most recognizable tech startups, joining us from Vietnam. Before this, he co-founded a facial recognition startup before iPhone X made it to mainstream. And today, he's going to show us exactly how he's built AI workflows that makes him a better PM. Tommy Nguyen, really glad to have you.
Awesome. Appreciate this opportunity and thanks for having me today, Sathy.
So, Tommy, tell us a bit about yourself and your journey, how you ended up here, and what's keeping you excited right now.
Yeah, I think there are, let's go with 3 chapters in my career so far. So when I was just in the university, I co-coded like Vietnam, one of the first facial recognition startups named EyeQ, and we deployed across like coffee shops, retail stores, advertisers, and that really taught me about building from the ground up and hardcore entrepreneurship. And then I'm moving on to working across different large corporates, different size of companies, from you name it, fintech, unicorn in Vietnam to US government software enterprise, and now one of the biggest super apps in Southeast Asia. So I think startup has really taught me about velocity and speed, and enterprise environment really taught me about complexity, different methods, different stakeholders, and the decisions as a PM affecting millions of users. Now, I think the next chapter of my life is really about AI-powered product management. Been building my side projects ranging from different tools for myself and for others, and very excited to be here today and share my story with everyone here.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Let's start with the why, right? So you've thought hard about this, and why does product manager specifically need an AI workflow? What's the case?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think there are 3 points that an AI, an PM would need AI in their life, because like I think, and I have seen most product managers that are just using AI like a search tool and like a simple query tool, right? So the 3 points are context absorbing, second, navigating ambiguity and blind spots, and the third, and what I love most, is stakeholders management. So let's dive into each of them. The first one, context absorbing. So as you may know, I just started my current job 3-4 weeks ago, and I'm currently onboarding with so many different contexts, so many different things to learn, different people to talk to. And I think the challenge that every PM face when they start their new company is they have to read so many documents, and each document is authored by a different person, and each one has different writing style. And sometimes I find it very difficult to understand one person writing. I just like find their writing so confusing. So what can AI do here is it helps you synthesize key information, key takeaways. You put it in the system, it will stay there, and it will help you recall the memory and the knowledge later. The second challenge is solution for this one. It helps you navigating the complexity and the dynamic of a PM in one day. Let's say tomorrow you walk in the office and you have 5 different meetings: design review, data review, customer call, meeting with your skip level manager to work through with him a strategic product initiative. Each has different context, right? So how you could keep up with everything? Like AI as your assistant can help you serve as an external memory, and you show up and work away with key context already briefed in your in your hand. That's the first one. The second one is really about navigating ambiguity and blind spots. So once you have fed all of the company knowledge in the AI, it could help you navigate the blind spots in your product decision making. For example, you can think of it as like your brainstorming partner. You propose an idea, it could help you counter or expand the idea, or give the data that help you validate or invalidate the initiative very early on with all of the company's data it has. And the third one, I believe, is my most favorite one of this. And sorry, my boss, if you listen to this, you can see the challenge here is you have so many stakeholders your manager, your skip level manager, engineering team, the sales team, the marketing team, each has their own way of talking and prefer style and approach, right? So what I did and I'm still doing is I connect the AI, like I use Claude Code and Claude App to Slack MCP, and I pull and retrieve all of the messages for each person, see the way how they talk, how they work, how they raise the questions, and feed it into the AI and create a really like a stakeholders map. So now I could ask the AI to draft a message, like a Slack message to my boss, and it already has all of the context, how she prefers to work with me, or what are the questions that she usually asks when a problem arises. And I also connect with Google Drive MCPs and really see how she writes all of the documents and how the way she works with others. So I could really tailor my communication style and working style and really anticipate what questions she would be asking if I propose a new product initiative. So you can see this is a super intelligent that AI really enables us as a PA. And this is very important because stakeholders management and influential leadership is really the key when AI has already helped you as a PM with all other like document writings, right? I think these are the three most important points product managers should start using AI.
So that was interesting. And Tommy, I remember you talked about the three layers of AI system. I think you mentioned about the behavioral, the memory, and the skill layer. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, of course. So the way I set it up is exactly as you said. Layer one is really for like you train and you set a set of principles for how your brand should look like and feel like inside your company, how your writing style should be, your decision frameworks, communication patterns. You fit it with like your actual writing style and it will mimic and try to learn and improve over time. And the result is an AI assistant that sounds like you, thinks like you, think with you, argue back with you to develop ideas. The second layer is about a memory layer. And this one, it helps with like every conversation starts with meaningful context loaded. So how you do this? Very simple. You feed all of your organization documents, like I did, as I mentioned earlier, Slack, Google Docs, Google Drive, everything you can find, just give it to the AI. Of course, to save tokens, you need several skills to handle the information digestion. So it only keeps relevant and meaningful context. And this layer would really result and helps you with like all of the context as a BBM, like meaningful documents, stakeholders, and it really empowers you making your decisions and priorities. And the third layer is about the skills layers. So like all of the skills as a PM, you have so many skills that you use every day, like writing the PRD, writing a Slack message, crafting an emails to a clients, making decisions. All of this repetitive decision making, you can craft it and put it into skills. So the AI could really help you with all of the repetitive tasks. So these three layers coordinate with each other and really empower you as a PM.
Really interesting process, right? Interesting. And you had earlier mentioned that you've gone through this evolution, right? Across different tools. You first used Cursor and then Claude App, and now you're on Claude Code CLI. So walk us through that journey, and can you share with us how you ended up there?
Yeah, of course. So I started using Cursor because a college recommendation at my earlier company. I think each like solution, each application has pros and cons. For Cursor, it was really user friendly. You can just type and talk to it like just like ChatGPT. And then I moved to Claude, and now Claude Code. I think the strengths of the Claude app is like it really helps with the learning curve of using AI with all of the user, like very friendly user interface. You can just start a project, put all of the documents of your company into that project and start building up context very quickly. On the other hand, the terminal version one is really powerful. It could essentially do everything with your computer. And if this comes with pros and cons, but I have found Claude Code my most reliable version because I just keep dumping context and then it could help me browsing the web, running terminal commands, move file around very quickly compared to a sandbox environment like the Claude app. But for my recommendation to start, I would go with Claude app because it already has the most updated and very strong applications and features for an AI PM.
Interesting. Can you share your screen and walk us through the real Claude Code workflow, something that PM would actually use?
Of course. Let me share my screen. It's good. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes.
All right. So let's say this is one of my side project. Okay, buddy. So it's an CV optimizing tool. It helps you craft your CV quickly. Remember when you apply for your last job, you have to write manually line by line. So now with this tool, you can just quickly craft your resume that really wins interviews. And let's say I'm trying to interview for users. I give it this document, and then you can see here, okay, so I have a user interview and I give it the interview notes, and this is how I work with them. So the interview notes come back with 3 solutions, with 3 different ideas. Either I should build this tool for like tailoring the resume for each job description in 10 seconds, or I should focus on building this so that the applicants can apply in mass in bulk, or I should focus on building the community with coach and peers practice so that like the applicants can really prepare the best for themselves. And then I work with, you can say, with this, I give out the interview notes and then the context background of what this tool is about, what this product is about. And then I run the skill. You can see the different direction. It helps create the interview notes, the interview questionnaire. And then you can come back with it and really see the different prioritization. So let's say this is the user interview notes. I can copy the path and then this is the user interview notes, review it and run the 131 to pick the best.
So what is the data that you're feeding here?
So it's the user interview notes.
Okay, so this is
let's say,
user
yes, I
interview notes
interview with
after the interview or before the interview?
after the interview. So I interview with
After.
marketers, a product
Okay.
designer, and
Okay.
then I give it the interview notes, and then
Okay.
I work with them, lay
So,
out the problem
this is from a hiring manager perspective.
from the applicant perspective.
From the applicant perspective, okay. So the applicant has given the interview and the applicant has collected the interview notes. Okay.
That's right.
So what are we doing next?
So really imagine this is as your brainstorming peer. So you have the interview notes and you have the skill. This is the 131 skill. Essentially, it will lay out the one problem, explore 3 different approaches, and then pick the best approach for this problem. So because earlier the constraint or the tension we were having is what should we focus on? Should we focus on building the CV optimizer for just one JD, one CV at a time? Or should we focus on building the mass application tool? Or should we build the community for applicants to best practice and prepare for the interview, right? So I come back with the design of the interview notes and brainstorm with the AI here.
But that's really cool.
All right. So you can see it has the context. So it really gives the 3 options and weighed in the signal from the interviewee, the user interview, and then the risk. And then it came back with the recommendation to double down on direction 2. So as you can see, let me reshare my screen and walk you through how the skill really looks like. So you have the decision to make a product direction. This will help you frame the problem in the right way. And most importantly, define the evaluation criteria, because most people would just make decision out of their instinct without weighing in enough data and options. So it would really help you do that and generate the 3 approaches and then craft the decision matrix and then only then recommend the best option here.
So what is an example of recommendation that it can give here?
As we can see here, I just run the skill, and then with enough relevant input from the user interview, it helps recommend with direction to, and it also recommends to frame it as smart job matching, not bunker apply.
Got it. Got it. Makes sense. Interesting.
All right. I think there's so much you can do. You can see here different skills. You can bundle them up together and use them together. So this is the root cause analysis, which I usually use to really, let's say you come in one day, you look at the dashboard of your product and you find out that there's a big drop in a step in the funnel. Then you can use this skill. And then with access to your database, it could really nail down and like trace one a step backward, a step forward to really like scan and identify the root cause. So this is very clever because this is just a framework, and with the framework, the AI could access to different platforms of your company and really help you identify the root causes.
What can be an example of root cause that you're exploring with this application?
Example here is tricky because I would not be able to share my company data, right? But you can imagine you have
Yeah,
data.
like a any use case. For instance, let's say I'm running. I don't know. Wow. Let's say I'm the product manager of B2B SaaS platform for the US markets, right? And maybe the product adoption is low in the US market, right? So how can this RCA application be? Can I use it there?
So let's say you come in and you see the user's onboarding flow,
Mm-hmm.
the registration
Mm-hmm.
step drops like 20% in just 1 week, and you want to identify the root cause. So normally before AI, a PM would have to write down the hypothesis, go look into the tools and set up different layer segmentation to really identify where the funnel is broken, right? So now with the AI, and you can use this skill, it clearly instructs how the AI should look into the data tools and platforms. And with this, it could quickly identify the root cause of the drop.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that'd be valuable for a lot of product managers.
Think of it like a framework, and the AI could use the framework to explore and troubleshoot your data or any problems you face.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. So and I remember that you also mentioned about the cheat sheet that you built, a downloadable resource that the audience can use immediately. So how can we get access to it?
Yeah, you can just go and like visit this link
Mm-hmm.
I could share, and you can just go here and really give the link to like your Claude Code or any AI app, and you can just say install these skills, and it's already ready to go. It is that simple.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really helpful, I'm sure, for a lot of product managers. Nice. So from your perspective as a practicing product manager, what are some of the most common mistakes that you have seen product managers make with AI, right? And things that limit how much value they get out of it.
All right. I think there are really three common mistakes I would call for product managers to use AI. I think the first one is really use it as a search engine, like I mentioned this earlier, right? The second one is really like generic prompt, because for AI, you may already know it, garbage in, garbage out. And the third one is an one-off tool, not compounding system. So let me walk you through one by one. I think maybe 60-70% of product managers right now only use AI like as a search tool instead of Google or Bing, and this is a big waste of the potential it could bring you. As we just walk you through, with enough context, enough relevant data, it could really empowers your daily life as the PM. The second mistake, and I have seen it all the time, is like prompting. You can say like how you construct a prompt. You should give it enough context, your goal, your purpose, what you want it to do instead of just giving a generic vague prompt, and it would return generic results. Mistake number three is really use it as a one-off tool. And you can say for ChatGPT, Claude, even if you just open a new chat context every time without building the system behind it, then every time you start a new window, it has fresh context, zero data about you or your work, and you have to train to build it all over again. As soon as the context window runs out, you have to start fresh again. So you really have to build a system, accumulate a compounding system, it accumulates over time. It gets smarter and sharper, and it works with you. So treat it as a buddy, a co-worker who really helps you in your daily product management works.
Yeah, I think those are really interesting ways of using these AI tools, especially as a product managers, to make them more productive. Yeah, interesting. Okay,
Awesome.
so let's do this. Let's go back in time because I'm really interested to learn more about your startup experience as well, right? So, and that was 10 years ago, right? That you co-founded a startup working on facial recognition, and that was even before iPhone X that made it mainstream. So, tell us a bit about that story.
Yeah. Wow, 10 years ago. Looking back, it feels like time flies by. But yeah, I think it really started as the internship project at my university. So me and my team and my co-founder, we have discovered this facial recognition technology, and then we observe and we went talk to lots of business owners who have coffee shops, you can name it, different types of business. And we discovered that for coffee shops, the problem we all have is we don't know which customers return, and multiply this by 30 stores, 50 stores, the entire chain. Customers walk in, they buy your products, but you could only know which one return if they install and use your loyalty app. Without it, 60, 70% of your visitors just go blind. You don't know your retention rate. And it is this specific problem that we build the facial recognition system for the coffee house. We go there, we install the camera, and we build the facial recognition system. We train the data because back then you could imagine it was just a lab environment facial recognition algorithm. It needed a lot of training, lots of data. So we have to install a camera, collect the real data at the real customer environment, and went back to train the algorithm, and it got better over time. So that's one use case. We were able to roll out around 50 stores for our first customer. And then the story continued. We wonder, what could we do next? We look at advertising industry. We were talking to different providers. You can see the ads screens inside elevators in big buildings, in your office buildings, maybe. The problems they were having were they only rely on the building traffic to count the impressions their ads were making for their customers, the advertisers, every day. And this is very vague because they just couldn't tell how a visitor was really engaged with the advertisement, right? So we built a system, a camera system that would measure how much engaged a visitor would look at the ads, how long they look at the ads, what were their emotions. Were they happy? Were they engaged? Were they frustrated, or were they just bored? And then we help the advertisers to retarget the ads to those who showed interest. So it is said that in theory would need 7 times looking at your ads to make a purchase decision, right? So with this system, we now enable out of home advertisers to really retarget their ads to customers or potential customers who show interest, and make sure we really increase their conversion rate. So these two are the systems we developed. And yeah, it was a really, I think it was a very meaningful, and I learned a lot, so much hitting the ground, building installing cameras, going through all of the hardship and looking back. I think this is a super valuable experience for myself in my product management journey.
I think that was really interesting, right? So the background to its story, how the idea evolved, and you also found different applications from one application, from one technology. You found multiple applications for the idea, and I thought that was a very interesting evolution of
Mhm.
the idea itself. Can you run us through some of the key metrics or some of the key stats that you thought was interesting, which made it viable, non-viable, interesting, useful to some of your customers? So from that perspective.
Yeah, I think that this could resonate to some of you as product managers. The most important metrics we were having to make the trade-offs were precision and recall. If you make the model too accurate, it would miss a lot of phases, right? So on one spectrum, maximum precision, that would mean every phases the AI were able to retrieve would be the exact match. On the other hand, a maximum recall, they, the AI would try to gather all of the phases, but at the trade-off, the accuracy would be very low. So I have to make this trade-off. And for this specific business use case of the coffee shop, because their goal is really trying to retrieve all of the faces, all of the customers return to their stores, and they accept like a big margin of mistakes. So we were really trying to go for the recall side of the algorithm. This is just one metric I had to make. I think making trade-off is really one of the decisions that a PM have to make every day. And the right way to do this is really to ask yourself and your team what the customers want, what their purpose, what their goals are, and yeah, stick with it.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting message. When in doubt, ask your customers, right? They'll usually know what the answer is, or at least they'll direct you.
Yeah, I would be careful with that because the customers would not know what they want until they see it. And you have to really find what their problems are and go build the right solution. And then
Okay.
maybe they use it and tell you what they feel about it.
Interesting. Interesting. And how is the business side of this? So because there is a certain cost to this application. One is, of course, you're training this model from ground up. 10 years back, where the facial recognition system was not that powerful, or would you say it was during the early days of facial recognition? I know it's been there for a while, right? But it was also challenging and quite expensive. And there is a hardware cost to it. And now you install that in 50 stores. Now you're really looking at a big cost. How did that play out? Cost versus the ROI versus the real advantage for the business?
Yeah, good question. You're right. When we were building that, facial recognition, actually it already in the lab at around the 2000s, 2007, 2008, but making an application and a business out of it was much more challenging. Like I just like as discussed earlier, like we had to really train the algorithm with the exact customer environment data. Only then it could match the precision and the recall rate as the customers and the business require. So it like, and you have to go there and really collect the data and you have to label it, right? Because who would tell the algorithm this is right, this is wrong result? Like we had to sit there and we had to recruit lots of interns to label all of the data manually. And like you can say, this is something like only founding members could only see and really experience. You as a PM, you would not like usually see it and do it every day in your corporate life, right? So that's why I really, really appreciate and grateful for this opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, I think these are some of the scrappy things that we do as founders,
Exactly.
especially to build a startup, which
Yeah.
eventually scales, right? Yeah, interesting. That's a very good learning experience for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, nice. So, with all of these startup experience, what did it teach you about building products that you carry into your product manager role today?
Yeah, I think I would say three most important lessons that I always keep it with everywhere I go. The first is really problem first. The second is like the three gates I would go for a business to to be successful. And the third one is really to know how to struggle well. Let me walk you through each of them. So let's lesson one, problem first. I think this is like one of the most fundamental mindset a product manager should have. And we made a lot of mistakes back then in the day because we were, as you named it, technology or solution looking for problems to solve. So distraction was a big factor, and we were trying to talk to a lot of different people, different business owners from different industries, and we were really pitching the solutions, the technology, and looking for problems to solve. But throughout that journey, the biggest key takeaway for me is the technology only stick if it solves the right problems. So I really bring this to me to wherever I go during my product management journey. Lesson number two, the three gates. For a startup to be successful, the first one is really problem solution fit. The second one is product market fit. And the third one is business model fit. I think we did very well in the first two stages. We find the right problem that our technology or our solution could solve, and some customers were paying for it. But ultimately, we could not figure out the right business model, the right revenue model that customers would agree to pay us and to scale the business to the next level. So you can say lots of startups already die at first in the first stage, especially this stage. AI enable you to really build very fast at a very cheap cost. But when you build it, no one uses because it solves no problem. Back to the first one, right? So, and then you have to move on to product market fit. Yes, your product could solve a problem, but no one pays for your solution. Then it also fails, right? So at each different stages, as a founder, you face different challenges, different obstacles you have to come around. And this is why it's so hard for a company to be successful. Lesson number three is really about to know how to struggle well. Back then, I was very lost because I didn't know what I wanted to do. My classmates were like the elites of computer science in our generation. And second year, third year, they all went to internship at Google, Facebook, like the biggest names in the world. Me, I sat there myself, like didn't know who I was, what I wanted to do. And then I had to go through the entire entrepreneurship journey, building from the scratch, like running around, installing cameras, labeling faces to an AI with like a bare minimum amount of salary. You could like, I think it was about $30 a month I was earning. Uh, yeah. So it was like what they call it, like presidents or like CEOs taking $1 a month or a year, but they earn stock, right? So yeah, I was struggling a lot. And looking back, I really believe, and you should trust that when you struggle, it is when and where you learn and you grow as a person. So embrace your struggles and yeah, focus on the moment, what you want to learn, what you want to do, focus on it, and the struggle will pass. And looking back, you'll find it as a very meaningful journey. Yeah, these are my three lessons for myself.
I think that's really nice to hear that, and the fact that you were living at $30 per month.
Yeah,
How did you do that? That's that's so interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know how I made through those days, but
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that actually reminds me about one of the Paul Graham essays. So I don't know if you've read Paul Graham essays. I absolutely love it.
yeah,
I started reading that, I think, about close to 17, 18 years back, I think. So, or 15 years back, maybe. So one of the concepts he talks about is for startups to be Ramen profitable. Ramen is the top ramen, the noodles. So he says the at least during the initial days, the startup should have at least just enough money for the founders to be able to buy ramen and then have noodles every day, right? That means absolutely minimalistic lifestyle, minimalistic expense, right? All resources, energy going into startup, right? And just making it grow. It just reminded me about that when you talked about struggle, and I thought that was interesting. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. So focus on what really matters. I think that's why it's so hard to be an entrepreneur. It takes a
yeah,
lot of focus.
yeah, and a lot of sacrifices. Yeah, interesting. Great. So you'd also talked about Southeast Asia specifically, and I'm curious to learn more about that, Vietnam in particular. So you have a really honest take on it, right? So what are the three biggest challenges of building a startup in Vietnam that people outside the region don't understand?
Yeah. Great question. Yeah. I think off the top of my mind, I think there are three particular challenges as a startup founder in Vietnam. The first one is really about the population trap. And the second one is like the fragmented markets. And the third one is really about the capital constraint. The first one first, population trap. On paper, you could look at Vietnam as 100 million population, but really the purchasing power is 15 or 20 times less than the US. And then you could build a company in the US, and then it is very easy to scale to different countries across the globe. While in Vietnam, we have had so many different successful companies, but struggle to scale across outside of Vietnam to Southeast Asia. And this is a challenge. The markets here are so fragmented. Imagine you have a successful startup in Vietnam. You want to scale to Singapore, to Thailand, to Malaysia. Each of these countries has their own languages, like legal, consumer behavior. You have to learn and to adapt. While for US and the Western, like Europe, right? It is so easy to scale one product from the US to Europe to Canada. And from there, you have the capital to keep pivoting and scaling your business. That's the second challenge. And the third challenge is about the capital constraints. Back then, when I was building EyeQ, the facial recognition startup, I saw a period of boom in startups ecosystem, lots of startups, lots of programs from the government, from different organizations try to support the startups. But now the window has narrowed quite significantly. The bar is higher and the checks, the investments are smaller. Yeah, I think these are the three significant challenges you have to face as a founder entrepreneur in Vietnam.
That's interesting. I think you've really talked about some very interesting challenges. On the flip side, what are some interesting opportunities for startups in Vietnam?
Yeah, I think we really have the right population for a startup to educate and think about monetization because we're not too young, but we are not too old, which means we are at the right spectrum. Professionals who make money can pay money for products they value and they find beneficial, right? So this is the right time if you want to build a consumer startups.
Yeah. I think that's really interesting. I definitely see a lot of tourism playing there. I think Vietnam is also one of the largest exporters of coffee, if I'm not wrong, right? Yeah.
That's correct.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah, interesting. Okay, so you also mentioned something fascinating that Vietnam as a country it seems to be shifting its focus towards a model of backing a small number of national champion companies, right? Which I thought was interesting because we've seen a similar trend in Korea and China, where they start promoting some of their largest organizations, be it Sony, be it Toyota, Hyundai, right? All of that looks like an interesting model that has worked for some of these countries. So, what does that mean for startups and entrepreneurs on ground?
Yeah, good question and observation. Yeah, as you can see, this model, lots of countries are applying. Korea, China, and now Vietnam, we have group as our biggest collaborate and cooperation. So what could this mean for a startup founder or entrepreneur? I think we should not really compete against the big guys, but we should really find the correct niche markets, and we should really focus on serving that niche market, because you could not outcompete a giant in such environments, in such headwinds. Government support them and the population love them. So yeah, I think you should not and you cannot outcompete that. So let me continue on this one. You could serve your market well, and you could really think about how you could sell your products, your users, or even your startup to like one of the big guys. Think of them as your exit strategy.
Interesting. Are there any numbers to maybe back this? I mean, what makes you feel that way?
Yeah, I think back then when I was doing IQ, we have had we Vietnam were having lots of different successes: Zalo, VNG, Momo, VNPay. But then this decade, we like since COVID, like the window has shifted. And off the top of my head, I could not really think of and recall any like successful case studies. So it really tells a big difference in the landscape shift.
And you're saying all of this is because of the policy shift that has happened in Vietnam.
I think this is my own observation, and maybe that's the trade-off that Vietnam is trying to make, like supporting big collaborates.
You know, I can relate to that because I'm from India, and India is one of the largest. I think they have the largest number of SMEs in the world. If I'm not wrong, I think we have, I think 40 million SMEs, if I'm not wrong. I'll have
Wow.
to check that number. I'll have to
Okay.
check that number. But we have a very large SME numbers and uh, 10,000 startups in India, which are very active and doing well. But we definitely see a lot of policy favoring large organizations, handful of organizations. So the trend is very similar in India as well. Yeah, so I can relate to that.
I think
Yeah.
there are some trade-offs. Um, like you can name it. We concentrate the resources for the big corporations at
Hmm.
the cost of less innovative, less room for scrappy,
Yeah.
independent startups to find
Yeah.
their footing before they face fierce competition
Yeah.
at a very unfair advantages.
Yeah. Yeah. Percent. Great. I think this has been interesting. Let's wrap this with a very quick rapid fire questions, right? So yeah, one tool that you use every day other than Claude Code or Cursor.
Of course, this is interesting. Yeah, I think I also use Gemini, particularly for it visual and images, videos
Yeah.
creating, because I
Yeah.
also create lots of infographics, carousels to not only support my team and presenting my ideas better, but also for my LinkedIn audience. So Gemini has been very, very good for this perspective.
Very good. Great. Okay. So the number one skill that a product manager needs in the next 5 years.
Definitely identifying which problem worth solving, because AI already helps us building solutions so fast at a very cheap rate.
Wow, that's an interesting point, right? How do you identify which problem to solve? Because there's so many problems to solve as a product manager.
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Your favorite product management framework or methodology?
Yeah, I think my number one lesson, building IQ, be very obsessed on problems and constraints. Like because customers only buy when they are blocked or when they are constrained from achieving their goal, not when they like we cannot build like painkiller versus vitamin, right? They only buy painkillers, not vitamin.
Not vitamins. Yeah, interesting. I think that's been an interesting to do we build a painkiller or a vitamin?
Exactly.
So you're saying always focus on painkillers.
Yes.
All right. All right. Interesting. Okay. Southeast Asia in Vietnam or Singapore.
Singapore.
Why would you say Singapore? I'm curious.
Yeah. Lots of different opportunity like uh Like take my current company, Vietnam has way more users, but Singapore generates way more GMV. And that's one slice, one perspective. Singapore also has a bigger concentration of investors, great people, great talents around the world, great resources. So it's definitely a better place if you want to build your career or your company.
Interesting. And Singapore is such a beautiful city, of course. But it's Vietnam. The most underrated city in Southeast Asia for tech.
I would say Da Nang in the central of Vietnam is a beautiful coastal city, and the government has been encouraging companies to build a really strong tech hub over there. So it has so many opportunities right now. If you want to work in finance, like I think we have Binance, what else? PayPal, I believe. So lots of like multiple companies are opening their office there, and the opportunities and the window for you is booming.
Which city again?
Da Nang in the center of Vietnam.
Right. Interesting. I'll have to look it up. And
Of
I
course,
should definitely visit that city. Yeah. Okay. So what would you tell yourself, say 5 years ago? One sentence if you were to tell something to yourself.
Embrace the struggles because struggling means you are growing.
Fantastic. I love that phrase. Struggling means you're growing. Nice. Your favorite book?
Steve Jobs.
Of course. Who doesn't love Steve Jobs?
No, I would disagree because like lots of people would look at his human side, how he treat his family, co-workers. Like people could think he was a bit too harsh, and I think it's fair. But what I was really inspired, and I'm still inspired by Steve Jobs and the impact he made on this world.
Yeah. Undeniable. 100%. Okay, your favorite role model?
Yeah, I would say Elon Musk for his work ethics. Like he's the richest man in the world, but his working style and working condition is still very minimal, as if like we are founding companies in parents' garage. Like absolute focus on what matters the most.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I read his biography and it was so inspiring, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Despite some of the things that has happened on the political side, again, if you just look at all the things that are happening on the tech side and what he is building, it's phenomenal. I don't know if there's any other entrepreneur that can come close to what he is able to achieve.
Yeah, and he keeps striding, working so hard every day.
Yeah.
That's why I take work ethics as my number one role model from Elon Musk.
100%. I agree. Wow. So, Tommy, this has been fantastic for talking about facial recognition before iPhone X to Claude and your honest take on building in Vietnam. And I think a lot of people need to hear this. So before we wrap, where can people find you, download the cheat sheet and follow your work?
You can go to my LinkedIn at Tommy NG. Just look it up and you can find me on LinkedIn.
Amazing. Okay, we'll do that. We'll also share the links in the comments here. All right, download that here. Okay, download the cheat sheet. The link is in the description. And if you're a PM wondering how to actually make AI work for you on day-to-day, today's episode is your starting point. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. And have fun down the road, everyone.
Thank you.